Economic news out of the Eurozone that could drag down the stock market. In today's cover story is Samsung giving Apple a run for its money. Plus, one author says keeping up with the Joneses is a recipe for financial disaster. And Throwback Thursday, a review of the summer hits and misses at the box office. First Business starts now.
You're watching First Business. Financial news, analysis, and today's investment ideas.
Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, September 4th. I'm Angela Miles. In today's First Look, stocks on hold ahead of today's critical day for economic news. There was mild buying and selling in the major indices yesterday. Gold rallied $6 and oil gained $2.50. The Wall Street Journal reports Tesla will choose Nevada as a place to build its giant battery gigafactory. The car company is working with Panasonic to produce batteries for its electric cars. The governor has called a news conference for this evening. And fast food workers strike again. The fight for 15 people will be out in force today, seeking higher wages. Yesterday, the mayor of Chicago signed an executive order calling for city contractors to be paid $13 per hour. Todd Horwitz of Average Joe Options brings us his trading wisdom on this Thursday. Good morning to you.
What's up, and good morning, Angie.
A lot is up today. We have comments coming from the ECB as well as the ADP numbers coming out. How will you trade?
Well, you know, it's interesting. On Wednesday night, or actually Tuesday overnight into Wednesday, by a technical level, the S&P made an interesting high of 2011, which is a wave 5 count top, which looks like the market might have found a level of a temporary top in it. So I'm going to be looking to be from the short side. But the wild card here is what does Draghi actually say? And I find it kind of sad that we're now always waiting to hear what either Janet Yellen or Mario Draghi had to say to make our trading decisions. But again, they're right now in full control of these markets.
I know a number of traders are also going long the VIX premium, hoping for a pop. Or maybe we'll even see a big drop. They just want to be long right now. What is your play? Because it's been moving with geopolitical events.
You know, the VIX index, as we both know, has been extremely quiet and certainly hovering around multi-year lows once again. I think that, you know, the only play to make if you're going to play that space is to be long volatility. And I think the best way to do it is, you know, through the option market by doing some sort of like a butterfly or some type of trade like that. But I do believe in being long volatility here if you can get on at a cheap price.
Now on to Tesla. You have been more of a hater than a lover of this stock, but the stock seems to be gaining traction, and now they're coming out with this gigabyte factory. What do you think?
You know, look, I give Elon Musk all the credit in the world. He's one of the greatest marketers of all time. However, the company is severely overvalued here. It doesn't mean that it can't be here eventually at some point, but it reminds me so much of the internet bubble of the late 90s that, yes, it's a great company. I hope it's successful because I actually love the car, but I just think the valuations are ridiculous. And because they don't make any money yet, I think that they still have a lot of room to proving to me to make me want to jump in and buy it at $285 a share.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Chuck Coppola has details on what to expect out of Europe today.
Angie, what traders want to know on this decision day is, will the European Central Bank, led by President Mario Draghi, attempt an emergency stimulus package to pull the Eurozone out of a possible recession? There's speculation that the ECB may launch an all-out asset purchase program, better known as quantitative easing. The European economy is struggling to stabilize and faces hurdles from the conflict between Russia and Ukraine.
Back in the U.S., Home Depot attempts to calm customers in the wake of a possible nationwide data breach. The home improvement retailer is still not certain there was a breach. However, via its website and social media, promises to protect customers. Krebs on Security, the same group that broke the story, says the attack affects nearly every Home Depot store in the nation. There's also speculation the hack attack could be larger than Target's. Home Depot stock fell $2 yesterday.
In today's cover story, Apple shares fell more than 3% Wednesday, and the company lost about $26 billion in market capitalization as the stock closed below $100. What's causing all the nervousness less than a week before what many expect will be Apple's biggest product rollout of the year? Apple tanked Wednesday, faced with Samsung and scandal. First, Apple's iCloud was hacked, the cloud becoming a little too transparent with dozens of risque celebrity photos spread across the internet. Apple denied blame, but if photos can be revealed, what about your bank information?
It is making people look at Apple a little differently, because if you look at it, Apple's basically blaming the celebrities for the problem And at least part of the problem was Apple's lack of ability to catch attackers that were going after these accounts. And, the celebrities are never going to be security experts.
Second, Pacific Crest Securities senior research analyst Andy Hargraves, who follows Apple closely, told investors if you've gained some upside from Apple shooting to $100 plus, then now is the time to lock in that upside with a share sale. Others think there may be problems with the iPhone 6 supply chain.
There's a shortage supposedly of the Apple phones that are going to come out. They're in this technology with the sapphire glass, and people think that they're not going to have enough supply for everybody that wants it.
And just one more thing to make the Apple faithful a little uneasy. Samsung revealed a series of new products a week ahead of Apple's announcement. A new smartphone with an improved camera and better battery life, a wearable device, and virtual reality headset. Analysts say it shifts the question of innovation to Tim Cook at Apple.
Apple's problem is with Apple. They used to be the company that provided magic on the stage. They got people excited about their products. It was really less about what the products did and how the products made you feel. Steve Jobs could do that. Tim Cook has not demonstrated that skill yet.
Not all analysts were bearish on Apple. Morgan Stanley remains bullish. So does Gene Muster, senior research analyst at Piper Jaffray, who raised his price target for Apple to $120.
Google is attempting to build a computer that thinks like a human. It's based on superconducting electronics known as quantum computing. The machines are much faster than typical computers and theoretically can problem solve similar to the human brain. Google's team is working with UC Santa Barbara, according to a post by the company. There's also an ethics board to oversee its work in artificial intelligence.
Infinity is among stocks taking a quantum leap. Shares of Infinity Pharmaceuticals soared nearly 50% Wednesday. The company is connecting with AbbVie to develop and market Infinity's experimental blood cancer drug, Duvelizib. The treatment is showing promise in non-Hodgkin lymphoma and other blood cancers.
In the fight against the devastating virus that has killed millions of pigs, the U.S. Department of Agriculture has granted a conditional license to a new vaccine made by Zoetis. The vaccine will be available to farmers in September. Zoetis is rushing that new vaccine to market. Those shares closed up 28 cents on Wednesday.
CVS Caremark, the nation's second largest pharmacy chain, has a new name. It'll now be known as CVS Health. And in a health-boosting move, the chain removed all tobacco products from its 7,700 stores a month ahead of schedule. The tobacco products were replaced by stop smoking aids. CVS said earlier this year that it would stop selling tobacco products by October 1st.
Calling it the right thing to do, the Centene Corporation will open a new plant in Ferguson, Missouri. The new claims processing plant could bring in as many as 200 jobs to the area. The city is still roaring after weeks of protests in the wake of the shooting of unarmed teenager Michael Brown by a Ferguson police officer. Centene is a health services company. It will partner with St. Louis Community College and the state to provide job training for local candidates. Centene shares closed down $1.26 yesterday.
Casino closures in Atlantic City are becoming a major drag on the labor market. It's estimated that 5,000 former casino employees will file for unemployment. By mid-September, 4 casinos will have closed, with 8,000 workers expected to lose their jobs. The industry is consolidating as gamblers head to other East Coast states with their money.
Automakers are racing to the finish line. New car sales edged up in August as trucks and SUVs fueled buying activity. Cars.com predicts U.S. automakers are on track to meet sales expectations for the year.
It seems like the auto industry had a very good month in August. Sales overall are projected to hit 17 million or up in terms of seasonally adjusted annualized rates, and that's going to be the best we've seen since about mid-2006.
Chrysler had a blowout month with sales jumping 19% from a year ago. Toyota rose 10%. Ford had its best August in 8 years, even as sales increased just 0.4%. GM slipped 1%. Analysts say it's still too soon to tell whether GM's recent recall crisis was behind that sales drop.
A Twin Cities popcorn company says stop calling what you pop when we've got trademark protected in our shop. For years, 3 companies, including Chicago's Garrett's Popcorn, have called their mix of salty cheese popcorn and sweet caramel corn Chicago Mix. The problem is that a small St. Paul, Minnesota chain called Candyland trademarked the term Chicago Mix in 1992. Candyland has now filed lawsuits against the 3 companies, Cornfields Inc. and Snyder's Lance Inc., in addition to Garrett's. But the co-owner of Candyland regrets the effort it takes to police trademark rights held by her company.
To be honest, I would never do it again. I would never take a trademark out because it's not, it's very difficult to protect it against a large corporation.
Garrett's issued a statement saying that it has started phasing out the name Chicago Mix to Garrett's Mix. Other companies have until the middle of the month to respond to the lawsuits.
Honest Tea is now the first brand by Coca-Cola available in a K-Cup. Keurig Green Mountain and Coke signed a 10-year deal to collaborate. Starting today, Coke will sell Honest Tea in Keurig single-serve K-Cups. Back in February, Coke spent $2 billion for a 10% minority share in Keurig.
Virgin Atlantic is making the U.S. a top priority. The airline is adding more U.S. flights as it focuses on the profitable markets such as New York and Los Angeles. Virgin Atlantic will use its partnership with Delta to cover the routes. Delta owns a 49% stake in Virgin Atlantic. Yesterday, Delta shares took a beating, sinking $2. That's as the airline lowered its forecast for the third quarter. The company blames a revenue drop on geopolitical events in Ukraine, Russia, and the Ebola outbreak.
On to earnings news now, coming from Toll Brothers, Navistar, and AK Steel. Starting with Toll Brothers, shares shed 4% Wednesday. The luxury home builder's profits more than doubled, but new orders declined. AK Steel stock plunged 6% on a warning the company says third quarter results will take a hit from an unplanned outage at a Kentucky plant. However, strong demand from the auto industry could partially offset the production slowdown. And Navistar shares also shifted lower in yesterday's session. Navistar reported a loss of $12 million, which was much less than expected as it cut costs. Here's the earnings calendar for today. It's Joy Global, Sienna, Zoomsies, and BB Stores. On the economic calendar, it's huge. Challenger job cuts, ADP employment change, initial and continuing unemployment claims, trade balance, productivity numbers, ISM services, natural gas inventories, and crude inventories. Still to come, where big movie studios stand as the sun sets on summer, plus myths about happiness and having it all. Plus, after the break, why the Fed says Americans have a money hoarding issue. Stay with us.
The U.S. is third in the world. New survey from the World Economic Forum that ranks global competitiveness says Switzerland and Singapore finished first, followed by the U.S., Finland, Germany, Japan, Hong Kong, the Netherlands, UK, and Sweden, rounding out the top 10. Nations were judged in several categories, including infrastructure and technology.
Well, trying to keep up with the Joneses may be keeping you down. That's according to Donna Skeel-Segan. She's the author of The Joy of Financial Security and the owner of financial advisory firm Sage Future Financial. Thanks for Skyping with us this morning.
You're so welcome. Thanks for having me.
So who are the Joneses these days?
You know, I think the Joneses are everyone. It's our neighbors, it's our friends, it's our family. And the impact that's having on us to try to keep up with them is just very negative, and I think it's actually toxic to our society.
Why are Americans overemphasizing striving to keep up with their neighbors?
Well, if you think back to our grandparents' days, you know, they never bought anything if they couldn't afford it. And now we've got credit cards encouraging us to put everything on the credit card and pay it off in a year. We've got mortgages where the houses are bigger than we can afford. And so I think our society is just putting that pressure on us, and we need to make a really firm commitment to say, no, we're not going to cave into that pressure.
How do you avoid the trap?
I think it takes a commitment where you just say, you know, I really don't need another car, even though my neighbor got a car. My car will last another 6 years, and I may not need the latest smartphone, or I may not need clothing for the next 2 years. And then you can direct that money into savings and investment, and you can also become a great role model by doing that for your kids and grandkids.
Are the Joneses actually happy?
No, definitely not. The Joneses are not happy. They may be hovering over their kitchen table trying to figure out how to pay the bills. And so I think it's all this pressure, and it's just so insidious in our society. And we really need to combat it and get back to some old-fashioned financial values.
Well, Donna, thank you for coming on our show. Our best to you.
Thanks very much.
Coming up, a snapshot of the stock tied to the self-driving car market one trader says is a go. And a flashback of the movies that rocked the box office this summer. That's after the break. As summer winds down, our film critic is counting the bucks at the box office. Here to talk about the winners and losers is Eric Childress, our movie guy. Hey, good to see you there, Eric.
Thank you.
Let's start with the winners. Which film studio turned in the best performance?
Well, the big winner for the summer was clearly Fox. I mean, they released 5 films this summer, and 4 of them are in the top 6 of the most profitable films. They had the X-Men movie, Fault in Our Stars, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. All did terrific business at the box office, especially internationally. And even Let's Be Cops looks like it's going to, end up with a minor profit. So they actually kind of had a perfect summer.
Which film studio failed to put up great numbers at the box office this summer?
The loser of the summer has to be Warner Brothers. I mean, they had a success out of the box with Godzilla, but throughout the rest of the summer, it just the numbers were just not there for them.
What else from Hollywood sparked your attention from the summer months?
Well, I mean, the summer box office is obviously down. It's been reported a lot this summer, about 14%. But you have to remember that those numbers are also coming off of last summer, which is, historically the best summer box office on record. So, it's a little bit unfair. The box office did cross the 4 billion mark again, and Transformers, was the big winner of the summer for Paramount with over $1 billion in the box office, and Disney had a really good hit with Maleficent as well. So, I mean, there were, a lot of stories this summer, and even some of the losers, a lot of the losers, we didn't really have your sort of Lone Ranger, RIPD, or White House Down, those big bombs that we saw last year. But a lot of disappointments, but just as many winners.
Hey, I actually enjoyed White House Down.
It's a goofy movie. And I like Lone Ranger, so we're doing okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Well, last weekend at the box office, Guardians of the Galaxy came in at #1, followed by Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, If I Stay, Let's Be Cops, and As Above, So Below.
Guardians of the Galaxy really is sort of the story of the summer. Marvel now owns the top 2 highest grossing films in the U.S., along with the Captain America sequel. And it's the only film that's going to gross $300 million at the U.S. box office this summer.
And no major films will be released this weekend.
No, not really. I mean, if you're looking for some good art house movies that might be opening in your area, that might be the way to go. Forrest Gump is opening on IMAX screens in certain IMAX theaters across the country. That was, my choice for the best film of that year. So maybe go out and see that this weekend.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Still to come, is Mobile Eye set to motor higher? Find out in Chart Talk next. From selfies to cameras on shirts, it's all about taking pictures wherever you are. Joining us now is Matt Cavanaugh of CMC Trading. Good to have you here, Matt. I want to take a closer look at this Mobile Eye trade. The stock had a huge move yesterday, and now the analysts are jumping in and putting big targets on it.
Yeah, they really are. Morgan Stanley came out and said, hey, we think this stock has a chance to go to $100, which is $50 more than it is right now. So big price jumps, but really a cool story, cool company, and cool technology.
Traditionally, you do not like these type of momentum plays, these quick trades, or maybe something that has a big price target on it. But you call this company cool, and it is cool. They're going to have these cameras that sit on dashboards. So how will that come into play with your trading here?
Well, I think that for me, you're right. It is tough to value some of these high companies that you're really paying a lot for. But this is a company that's got 80% market share. They've got the best technology out there, 50% year-over-year growth. And on top of it, everyone is very interested in the self-driving cars and the crash avoidance systems, things to make us safer. So I think that they're in a great position in an industry that is poised for growth.
Of course, there's a lot of downside for people who own collision shops, because maybe we'll be banging up our cars a lot less, correct?
Well, it might be bad for them, but I think it'll be good for the rest of us.
Good to have you on the show. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
That's it for today. Here's a plug for Traders Unplugged coming up on our show tomorrow. Find out what the guys think about mobile wallets, including the one that could be coming from Apple. From all of us at First Business, have a great Thursday.